Hello, this is Gene Thorpe, Little Red Rooster TV, and today I'm here with Michael Gregory. And Michael is a fine guitar player. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm going to start right out with the very first question. Michael, how did you first discover that you liked music, if you don't mind?
In preschool year, coming home, my mom's driving home, heard Tijuana Taxi, Herb Albert on the radio. Pull into the driveway, she shuts the car off, and I start running into the house saying, "Come on, Mom, we gotta hurry." And she thought I had to use the bathroom, and I said, "No, we gotta turn on the radio in the house before the song is over." I was just, psychotic to hear the rest of that song. So that was kind of the first reaction I ever had. And then at the age of 9, a lady that would come over and cut my mom's hair at the house, a girlfriend of hers, left 4 records at the house. And it was very fortuitous. It was Axis Bold as Love, Jimi Hendrix, Best of Cream, Hendrix Noticed Redding at Monterey, and Zappa and the Mothers Were Only in It for the Money.
Wow.
And so...
No Frankie Avalon, though.
Nope. So
wow.
as I should have been listening to Bobby Sherman at that age, or the Partridge Family.
Absolutely.
But it was just mind blown. Yeah.
Was anybody in your family musical before you came along?
Great story. I remember asking my mom, because my older brother Scott plays too. He started a little bit after I did. And so at one point we said, "Mom, is there anyone else musical in the family?" She started chuckling, and I said, "What?" She said, "Well, I went to Sacramento High. It was the 50s. It was very strict back then. And my girlfriend and I signed up for the band, and they issued us cellos. And she said the conductor caught us sword fighting with the bows, and they threw us out of class, and that was the end of my musical
end
journey."
Of her musical career. Gosh, yeah. With your genes, she could have been probably great.
Well, as far as the hands, she could type 110 words a minute.
Wow.
She was like the Yngwie Malmsteen of the typewriter. So
Sherry and I were watching you play the guitar last night on YouTube or Facebook or something.
Okay.
And it's amazing how you can move those fingers.
Oh,
so was the guitar your very first instrument?
Yeah, because Hendrix, I tell people, he hit me in a spot where I didn't know I had a spot. And then he just I felt like the seed was there, whether, you want to call it God, the universe, whatever, that seed was in there, and then that activated it, germinated it, and started the process.
So when you were first learning your first songs, were you kind of learning Hendrix? Was that it? Or?
I was 9 years old, so I was fumbling around in the dark. I remember we also had somehow a copy of Iron Butterfly, Inagata Devita.
Oh, nice.
Which that album is still, both sides, is still one of my big influences, and I loved that band. And so I remember on one string trying to go bum, 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 bum. I was just fishing around until I found things.
So you just made me think of one thing. If you can sing it, you can play it.
And that is very true.
Isn't that true? Okay, so I remember when you were pretty young, because I was always in these music stores. And what was your very first band that you were in? How did that all come together?
Well, that depends on your definition of band. My brother and I played with the drummer. We lived in these apartments, and the manager of the apartment, he didn't live on site. He lived nearby in South Sacramento. And he said, "Well, my son plays drums, and they had converted the garage into a music room for him. That you boys ought to come over." So we started knocking around with him, and down in the Parkway area of South Sacramento, where we were living, there is a community center there. And so they'd have after-school activities for teens and stuff. And so somehow that drummer said, "Hey, I can get us a thing playing there." I think we knew 3 songs, maybe. No bass player, 2 guitars and a drummer, and we got up and played and were probably properly ignored. And
I doubt it.
But that was my first experience on stage, playing in front of people, and loved it. And I was probably, I think 11 or 12.
So while you were doing that, now you kind of grew up, did you say Oak Park?
My earliest memories were in Oak Park, but definitely South Sacramento. Lived
Same
off
with
of
me.
Fruit Ridge,
Yeah,
Florin,
Fruit Ridge,
47th,
Florin.
Meadowview.
Yeah, we had a gas station at 44th and Lemon Hill and 47th and Sampson. I used to live in Oak Park, and do you remember Tom's Cyclery on Broadway?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, well, so Vril and Tom, who is the son of the owner, and myself and a kid named Gary Powell, whose brother was Tony Powell, from a band called The Fugitives. So, like, let's see, this was 1966, I was there. And so you would have been 5.
Yeah.
And we could have probably passed by, and
Yeah.
each other at some point. But anyway, we were there. And then my parents lived right off of Florin Road and Sky Parkway.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I'm familiar with that. And then down, if you went down to down Florin Road all the way to 24th, you'd find Academy of Music. You remember that music store? And
My mom used to bowl at the Alpine Alley.
Alpine
at the corner.
Bowling Alley.
Yeah.
I was there. I was playing pool all the time there.
Yeah.
That is so incredible. So tell me about your band. So there were no drummer. I mean, no bass player.
Bass player,
So
just
it
2
was like
guitars
a
and
Jimmy Reed
drummer.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and we just called it the Gregory Brothers Band for lack of anything else. And so that was junior high. Then the first real band was I moved up to Auburn in 7th grade.
So did you graduate from Placer High?
We can talk about. I went to 4 different high schools and moved around a lot. But my my freshman year and half of my junior year were at Placer, sophomore at Colfax, last half of junior year at San Juan, senior year at Cordova. So I was all over the place. But I was being a little knucklehead, doing all the little things that young boys do, and I got caught. My friends were, smoother
Tuckers?
criminals than me. Yeah, he'd push a shopping cart into a creek, they'd all run, I'd get caught, that kind of thing. And so I got sent up to a county boys ranch because I wasn't going to school. I would just stay home and play my guitar and listen to Hendrix records all day. And they said, you can't do that, you got to go to school. So they sent me up to Auburn to this boys ranch. I'm taking my guitar to school with me every day, going to public school up there in Weimar. And kid riding the bus, he says, you play guitar? Yeah. My dad is Buck Owens' cousin. I said, oh, well, that's cool. And he said, we have a band. We need a guitar player. You interested? I might be, And so I went and had dinner with them. They lived right down the road from the boys' ranch that I was on. And they had a little detached garage. They said, well, come on, let's go play some music. And I think they were probably like, okay, we're going to humor our son and his friend. And they were like a country gospel band. And the guy was Buck Owens' cousin, Dale Owens. And so they're playing some songs, and I could see him looking around like, crap, the kid can play. So they said, would you like to play with us? Sure.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to know, why do you think you could play? What was it? Did you spend a lot of time listening and developing ear training, or do you have a natural ability?
I think all of the above. I recognize now, looking back, I certainly didn't in the first probably half of my journey, that I had a gift that was probably above average or above ordinary.
Did you ever play scales, or did you try to play the solos?
I was just literally, like fumbling around in the dark, and if something excited me, I would try to learn it. And then, as you get with it, having a older brother that started playing shortly after I did, he had access to better music, and I had a nice stereo, and we were in the same bedroom, so we would help each other.
Oh yeah, you guys would kind of.
That accelerated the process too.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, it's always good to have a partner. So, how old were you by the time you got your first band with
Well,
him?
that band with Dale Owens, I had just turned 14,
Okay.
and every weekend we'd go play a church somewhere
Yeah.
in Northern California. And then that summer, they rented a Winnebago, and my brother joined the band for that. And we actually went on tour, and I was hooked. I was like,
Oh,
okay,
that's great.
I could do this forever.
So, how old were you when you started coming into the box room? And we were talking about.
I remember my brother and I going in there probably, let me think, because I remember specifically he bought the Aerosmith album with Walk This Way on it right when it came out, before that was a hit. And so that would have been probably like 75, 76.
Mm-hmm.
And we went in, and he and I each picked up guitars and were playing. And my brother played the solo from Walk This Way. And I remember Larry Gosh went up to him, he goes, I hear so many kids come in trying to play that thing. You're the first guy to play it right.
Yeah, Larry would just, he had a very good ear. Yeah. And both of us would hear every guitar player in the frickin' world in there, in that music store. How old were you when you played on that? Was it a record that you had that became the Tom Sullivan theme? Or did you do that for Tom Sullivan?
That was,
show?
yeah. I did later in the 80s, and I started doing session work.
So in the 80s, so it was like about 5.
Well, but when I started doing session work, the Tom Sullivan thing would have been, see, my kids were pretty little, so it was probably like mid-90s.
I just need to say one thing to the people. If you've ever heard the Tom Sullivan show when he was in Sacramento, and that astounding guitar work where it ends and then he still keeps hanging out over the edge, that was Michael Gregory.